introduce now Mr. Stephen Harrison, attorney, president of the American Heritage Democratic Organization, chairman of Board 10 Zoning Committee, and founding member of the Community Emergency Response Team. Mr. Harrison.
Thank you, Tony. And I thank the AARP for having this great forum here today. How's everybody today? How's everybody today? I want to hear a little. My name is Stephen Harrison, and I'm running for the United States Congress. I am the Democratic Congressional candidate. I'm running for Congress because I believe we need a new congressman. And I believe that we need a new congressman for many reasons. Let me tell you who I am. I'm a person who will not tell one audience one thing and another audience another thing. Tomorrow night we will have another debate. I am from Brooklyn. Vito Fossella came over here and he said Staten Island is the best place in the world to live. What does he say tomorrow night? All right? I won't say things of that nature. How many people here came from Brooklyn originally? Okay, I want to see that. Many people. It's a very common trip to make. I not only have a great emotional investment in Brooklyn, where I was the chairman of Community Board 10 and passed the largest rezoning in the history of Brooklyn. A rezoning that stopped overdevelopment in its tracks over there is something that I'd like to bring over to Staten Island. Okay? That's a very important point. I think you all agree with me. Okay? But I also have a great emotional investment in Staten Island. My mother lives here. I don't know if she's here right now, but my sister lives here. She's here. Where is she? She's around somewhere. Where are you, Mom? Okay? She's over there. Hi, Mom. How are you? Right? That's my mother. She's lived here for 25 years. My sister has lived here for 25 years. So anybody who tells you that I don't know something about Staten Island is absolutely wrong. And I'm going to tell you something else, too. The one thing I will not do with Vito Fossella's record is distort it. It's distorted enough. He, however, will distort my record. And the reason he distorts my record is when he gets up here and he tells you Steve Harrison wants to go back to two-way tolls. Steve Harrison doesn't want to go back to two-way tolls. What he didn't tell you is that Steve Harrison wants free tolls for everybody in Staten Island, everybody in the district. Then Steve Harrison wants to take those tolls and he wants to put up high-speed easy pass with no toll booths whatsoever so that everybody will go through as quickly as possible. Do you agree with that? Do you want that? That's what Steve Harrison stands for, and if he tells you the whole plan, it gives you a completely different viewpoint. Let's talk about what I consider to be the most important things in the world to me right now. The most important things in the world to me right now are my children. My daughter is standing back there right now. My mother, who is over here. My safety and my health care. Are those four things that you all agree are important to you? All right. Children, your adults, your safety, and your health care. All right. Those are all important things. Let's talk about it for a second. Before I get into it, each one of those things is affected by money. Congressman tells you that we have a great economy going right now. What he doesn't tell you is that we have $8.4 trillion in debt as a result of George Bush, who he supports all the way. And the reason we're $8.4 trillion in debt is because while he's saying that he believes that we need tax relief, you know who he gives the tax relief to? The oil companies, to the rich, right? To the corporations, and not to you. That's where you should be putting the tax cuts, not with respect to the people who are in the rich. That's why you have an $8.4 trillion debt when you give a $60 billion tax cut to the oil companies. All right? What happens as a result of having an $8.4 trillion tax cut, deficit? As a result of having an $8.4 trillion deficit, we cannot expand our military. We have to borrow from China to expand our military. I don't want to borrow from China to expand our military. And because we can't expand our military, because our resources are stretched too thin in Iraq and in Afghanistan, we have a problem with Korea, and we have a problem with Iran, who are doing the kinds of things that Korea did today. We don't want Korea to get a nuclear bomb. We have to expand our military. We have to reverse the Bush tax cuts, and we have to expand it. Do you agree with that? All right, let's talk about Social Security. Vito Fossella says that he never did support the privatization of Social Security. That is absolutely not true. Okay? In 2002, Vito Fossella was on CNN, and he was there with James Carville, and he was asked, how do you feel about the privatization of Social Security? And he said, in this case, George Bush is on the right side of history, and he supported it to the hilt. After he supported it to the hilt, 2 years later, okay, 2 years later, when he found out that the vast majority of the people in this district, on both sides of the bridge, did not want the privatization of Social Security, he wrote a letter to every single person in the district. And he said to every one of them, I never did and I never will support the privatization of Social Security. And when he stood in front of you today here, he said, not that he was against the privatization of Social Security, he said he wants to give it to a bipartisan commission to determine what to do. And if they determine that they want privatization, he'll support it. So what you have with Vito Fossella is he's for it, he's against it, and he doesn't know quite what to do with it. I know what to do with it. We say Social Security the way it is today, there is no reason that we can't. It is absolutely secure to the year 2042. We will not change Social Security when Steve Harrison is your congressman. Let's talk about Iraq. I support, unequivocally support the war on terrorism. We must follow the war on terrorism wherever it takes us. We must leave no stone unturned to get Osama bin Laden and to make sure that the terrorists never attack our land again. But you know what? The war on terrorism did not bring us to Iraq. George Bush and Vito Fossella brought us to Iraq. That's who brought us to Iraq. And George Bush brought us to... Hey, we know this. We know there were no weapons of mass destruction. We know because George Bush said there was no connection between Iraq and 9/11. Right? We also know that we had to get rid of Saddam Hussein. He's been gone for 3 years. Why are we still there? Can anybody tell me the reason that we're still in Iraq? There is no objective in Iraq. There is no plan in Iraq. George Bush and Vito Fossella say, stay the course. What's the course? I don't see the course. I see no beginning. I see no end. I say bring those boys and girls home right now. Let's get ourselves a real military plan on how we're going to fight the terrorists. We can't fight the terrorists when they're not in Iraq. But you know what the problem is? They are in Iraq. And you know what the National Intelligence Estimate said last week? It said they're in Iraq because we started the war. There were no terrorists there before the war. They're there now. Bring the kids home. Bring them home as soon as it is safe for them to come home and it is practical to do so. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Thank you all for having me.
Okay, I'm sure everybody's awake now. It's part of the American scene, though, voicing the opinions of both parties and listening very carefully, and then deciding as our conscience and our minds tell us to.